welcome back to my channel. This is the second part of the two-part series and the how to hire a contractor. So there's going to be three more topics that we're going to get into. We're just going to rush right into them. If you've been to this channel before, welcome back. And if this is your first time to this channel, welcome. We're broadcasting live here out of the Dallas Fort Worth studios. I'm Mr. D, and this is Shop Talk with your local contractor. This segment is two parts, and it's basically talking about how to hire a contractor. We're going to go over the first three that we talked about here in the last segment, and then what we're going to be talking about for the three in this last part of this part two. So the first we talked about was my cheat sheet here, things to know about when you're hiring a contractor. You want to know your contractor, and there were things to look for when you're hiring a contractor. Do they have too many jobs? What's their experience? How many guys do they have on their crew? How well do they manage and complete their job? So those were some very important key topics that you want to ask your contractor, because it's very important that your contractor can fluently answer those questions and that you watch them and their handshake matches their smile. Because, hey, look, when you're hiring a contractor, especially a general contractor, they manage and put everything together. So they are representing you as the owner. That is you being represented. And when you're represented by any type of fiduciary, you want it to be in your best interest. The second one was know your end game. When I say know your end game, that is definitely because when you are doing a project, you want to know what you want. So don't get sold on something and you're like, that sounds like a good idea. And then all of a sudden at the end, you look at it and you're like, it wasn't like what I thought it was. That's where you didn't really know what you were doing. And then you had it happen, and then you got sold, and then you fell for anything. My dad used to tell me this: fall for. He said he used to say, stand for something, or you're gonna fall for anything. And that's an old saying. He didn't make that up, but it's true. And the thing is that you have to be biased on your own turf, and you have to know your product and stand behind your product. And even if your product isn't the best, you stand behind it and you represent it. Because if you don't represent your product, somebody can go and just change the channel on you and you'll agree with that. And then agree and agree and agree. You can only wear so many hats. So you have to pick a side. It's red team or blue team. And it's either one of those two, and you have to pick one of those sides. So, stand for something or fall for anything. That was very true. And I'm going to give that to you guys. So use that. And it's very important that you stand by that product. The last one was prepare for your budget. There always is going to be a deviation in the contract. So things are going to change. What you thought of it was now, you're going to see something different, and it's going to change your trajectory of your end game in your project. And so you may have to add more to it because what you thought of before was very small and you wanted something more major, or you wanted something a little more detailed. And that's just going to change things. It always happens just because you don't know what you don't know. And as you get into it, you start getting more educated quickly. And so you start to get better at your craft within a short amount of time. It's called experience. Experience can come from just an experience, maybe one or two times. But you don't have to do things for years and years and years to get experience. So when you start off doing something and you start looking at it, then you start thinking, you know what, this is how I really want that. Well, if you don't prepare for that budget, then what's going to happen is you're going to crash. You want to make sure that you prepare for the changes before the changes happen. So that's what we talked about on those three topics from the first segment. This is the second segment, the last segment, and here's three more topics. So we're going to get into these three. One is going to be about pricing. Pricing is very important because you want to make sure that when a contractor is coming out and they're pricing, that they're very close. You don't want one contractor to be at this price and another at thousands ahead of that. I mean, that's kind of like not an industry standard. An industry standard is this: if gas is at $2 a gallon, and then somebody's at $2.10, and somebody's at $1.98, and the other person's at $2, you're within 10 to 11 cents, which means it is within the same standard. Now, what's not in the same standards is somebody that $2 a gallon, somebody that $2.75 a gallon, and somebody that $3.15. That's called price gouging. and the standards are way off, it's kind of just wilding out on price wise, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's for the same thing, but the change is significant, and it's not. There's no standard. Nothing's within the standard. And so, are you getting the best bang for your buck with a cheaper price if it's the same thing? But are you getting more for it by paying more quality? If it's not a standard and it's just price raising, price raising, and someone being at a minimal price, then the prices are not matching up with the industry standard. Same thing for an apartment in the Dallas Fort Worth area. If it's a one bedroom apartment in the Dallas Fort Worth area within 20 miles, that one bedroom apartment should be between $1,500 to $1,800, and that's if someone's at 1,600, someone's at 1,550, and someone's at 1725. That's within 15 to $1,800. That's the industry standard, between 15 to 1,800. So it's between a change of a low at 15 and a high at 18. So it's within that $300 mark. That's fair for a one bedroom apartment. Now, if somebody is at 15 at a low and they're at 2,500, that is way out of the league. That makes no sense. It's not about quality. It's all about whoever is doing it, and someone doesn't know their pricing and what are you getting for it, and it's just a price gouging. That's not a fair thing. There's no industry standards. There's no regulations on that price. So when you're looking at pricing, you always want to make sure that it's within an industry standard. So a pricer, someone that prices things, they should know how to do their pricing. They should know that in this area for this product, this is what it should cost, and this is the fluctuation and the pricing. And so you're getting a good deal either or. And so that's what it's worth. If somebody doesn't know how to price, you're going to tell right away. The last thing is how to know that you have a good contractor. Well, it's not just by their workmanship, but it's by their contract too as well. Do they stand by their product? Do they back up their project if their project were to fail, and give you quality work if there was a mistake? Sometimes mistakes don't appear until months or a year or two later. How long is that warranty for? And the workmanship if it fails. So how to know that you have a good contractor is not just by the workmanship, but by the workmanship that they do, but it's also by how they stand by their product and represent their contract. Because if their contract doesn't make any sense, it doesn't make any sense for them, and it's definitely against you. It's not a good product, it's not a good contract, and that's not a good contractor. Contractors have to know how to take care of you, but protect themselves. But at the same time, though, if they're protecting themselves, they should be protecting you by the standards, and they should stand by their product too as well. So those are some very key topic points. So let's get into pricing. When you're pricing, you want to make sure that that price is not too far away from each other. So if you get three bids, you want to make sure that those prices are within $200 to $500 in between each other. $200 to $500. So if I say 1,500 and someone says 2,000, okay, what am I getting for that 2,000? But also, if somebody says we're going to do 1,700 or we're going to do 1,850, am I still getting the same thing? That means that other person values what they value their time a little more, but it's not like they're ripping you off by charging $700 to $1,000 more for that same thing. So if they keep it within a tight belt between $300 and $500, I'm going to say that's fair, because it's all about availability too as well. If there's a low availability of contractors in an area, and if somebody says, look, from the low 15, I'm going to charge you 500 because there was a tough availability, that's fair. If they jack up the rate to 1,000, that's out of control. There's no regulation on that. So keep an eye on that price. It's all about pricing. Then you know that that contractor knows how to price things, and you know they know how to stick with that industry standard, because that's a contractor that I want to work with, or I'd have that contractor do work for me, definitely, because remember, you fund that project. The second thing, again, we're just getting a little more in detail. This is going to be something for nothing. If you get something for nothing, that contractor's got something for you, sneaky. So you're never going to just rip that contractor off. I have people that want to hire me and they want to give me a few $100s and then they want thousands of dollars worth of quality of work. That doesn't work like that. If you want somebody that knows what they're doing, first of all, if they know what they're doing, they're not going to give it to you for nothing. Okay. Second of all, if they know what they're doing and they know what it's worth, then this is that industry standard that's going to be within that price. So you have to be prepared to pay for that. If you think that you're going to lowball your contractor just so you can get some, they can get some work, I'd rather do 3 jobs a year than 10 jobs a year because I'd rather do quality and get paid for what I'm worth than to give that away. I went to this was a restaurant. This was about 6 months ago, and I ordered some food. They brought something that was a mistake. It was an extra burger, but it was not what I asked for. So they took that burger and they threw it away. I was kind of like, hey, what are they doing with that hamburger? Why didn't they let me just keep it? And it's the end of the evening. No, if I'm not going to pay more for it, they'd rather see it in the trash than let me have it. Now, I could say that's a little cynical, but it's true. If you're not going to pay for what it's worth, then why are you getting extra for it? You have to be willing to pay for it. If you think you're going to get something for nothing, what is in it for them? If both of you walk away with a disappointed look on their face, then it's a good deal. If one person has a sore rear end and the other person has big smiles, then that's gonna be, and that's overdone, and that other person that's walking away sad is definitely getting played. So your contractor is gonna be sharp on that if you're trying to lowball your contractor and get something for nothing. That's when they'll tell you anything to get the job, and then they're gonna play games with you. There's gonna be price gouging, or they'll get what they can get off of you, and then they'll walk away from that project. And that's happened many times to a lot of people. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure that you pay your contractor fairly and you understand what is the industry standard within that $300 to $500, so that you know pricing as well. So that is something for nothing. You're not going to get something if you give away nothing. Okay. The last one again is how to know you have a good contractor. Okay, that contractor has to have a really sharp contract. So they have to have a contract that says X, Y, and Z, and that they stand by their product, they stand by their project. So if the product fails, this is what they'll do to remedy that. If the project fails, this is what they'll do to take care of that. If they give you a time frame for 3 days and it takes them 5 days, they're not going to ask for more money. That contractor is going to eat that. They're going to take care of it. They're going to take care of you. They're not going to lowball their price. They're not going to lowball anything that they do. They're going to take care of you. When I say lowball the price, they're not going to try to hire guys that will do it for less and do a crappier job. They're going to eat that because they gave you the wrong guesstimate, and that they have to eat that. They have to stand by that product. It's good business. At the end, you're going to represent for that contractor and you're going to come back because that contractor did what they said they were going to do, even if it took a little bit longer. They gave you quality. And at the end of that, they're going to have an appreciative person for that deal. So those are those things you want to look for when you have a good contractor, is how they stand by their contract, how they write their contract. Because if they know how to write a contract to take care of them and protect them, then they also know how to stand by their product to protect you if for any errors and omissions and mishaps. The handshake always has to match the smile. Guys, that is the end of my segment. It was very quick, but I wanted to get to the point of those 3 topics for this last one on this segment. So I thank you so much. Always tune in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave those comments below. Again, that just helps me up with content, and the algorithms bring that icon so that you can get the next one that's coming up. I'll do my best. Till next time, and this time that you were here, be blessed, and we'll see you next time.